What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So the complete list for this upcoming Legion Sports in the Men's Open and also for all the divisions, that is now out. And we have discussed this already, that it can be blessing, challenging Tonio for the win here. But that being said, there are two other Olympians added to that list. First of all, we have Bruno Santos, and then we have Patrick Moore. So is Patrick Moore even a threat now to those top three here, especially the way he showed up and the way he got placed at this past Cali Pro? Well, he said he's up 24 pounds since 2019, and that was the year when he made his Olympia debut. And for those of you guys who do not remember, he was top 10 at his Olympia debut. Now, if that is in fact true, that he has put on 24 pounds of muscle on his frame, first of all, that's not up to the par in comparison to those men's open standards. And second of all, where are those additional 24 pounds? Now the reason I'm saying that is because if he gets into that same kind of condition as he was at his Olympia debut in 2019, he will be losing most of that additional weight anyway. And to anyone who believes that it is a peaking issue for him and that is holding him back, well, in my opinion, that simply isn't true. That is totally wrong. He has worked with two of the best coaches in the world right now. And that was the case in the past 1 year. And whether you like it or not, his problem, his issue, that will always be the same. He's stuck in a very hard place. We know he is way too big for classic physique. And the man is just way too small to battle it out with all these guys in the Men's Open. Now, I'm not saying he did not put in the work. I am sure he has amazing work ethic. But sometimes you just aren't built that way. He obviously must have tried to grow a lot, but it simply isn't possible for everyone to attain that 190 or 300 pounds or any big number like that, even in the off-season. So let's wait and see how he does at his next show. In my opinion, the bigger factor here at this upcoming Legion Sports, that is going to be Florian Persson, who brought a phenomenal package and amazing condition to his comeback show, which happened last weekend at California Pro. And just to let you guys know, Florian was actually beating Bruno Santos at the prejudging, and those guys went back and forth from the prejudging to the finals. And also in comparison to Leandro Paris, there was a difference of only 1 point, especially at the prejudging. Now, Florian having that issue with his midsection, where he was unable to control his waistline at all times when he was on the stage, that happened during the peak week. So that is most probably going to be fixed here. So this is gonna be Florian's second show after his comeback into the Men's Open. And I for one am very excited to see this guy back in the Men's Open class. And let's see how he does at this upcoming Legion Sports. Now, could not complain about how Bruno Santos looked in California Pro. There were many better bodybuilders than him on that Cali Pro stage. And he just could not have done anything to beat a guy like Regan Grimes, or I'm gonna say Sazan Hirati too. Now that being said, if Tonio he shows up at his 100% here, he's gonna be very tough to beat. And I am putting Blessing Avudibu in that list as well. Beating someone like Tonio, that simply isn't gonna be easy, even for a guy like Blessing. And the reason I'm saying that, the genetics on that man, they are just on a whole different level. Next up, we have an update from the Persian Wolf, Hadi. So no physique updates have been posted by Hadi almost throughout this offseason. Just some training clips here and there. But those are kind of enough to convince everyone that he might be out of those media talks. And he might be away from the scene at the moment. But the man is ready to shock the entire bodybuilding world come Olympia this year in October. So he left the Olympia stage last year with a very bad taste in his mouth. Because first of all, Hadi did not agree with that decision of the judges of picking Samson Dauda over him. But more than that, he was angry on himself over the fact that he was off at the Olympia by his own standards and in comparison to how he showed up at the Arnold Ohio last year. Now, I do believe that if Hadi showed up the way he did for the Arnold Ohio last year, he probably would have won that show. The outcome of the competition, that probably would have been different. Now, Hadi is the only guy out there whom we all know was gonna be 100% on, considering the fact that he's aiming to peak for just one show this year. And that makes him very dangerous and one of the biggest threats to Samson Dauda and Derek at the Olympia this year. Now Samson and Derek, they have both coming off. And that happened this year. Samson at the Arnold and Derek at the Pittsburgh Pro. But we know Hadi has a totally different reputation that he just never misses. So will Hadi be any bigger than his Arnold Ohio look from last year? And that is to chase Samson Dauda. Well, I'm gonna say probably not after seeing the results of this year's Arnold Ohio. The only area where Hadi needs to get better, that is his back, to catch up to Derek and Nick Walker. So that crazy upward weight trajectory that has started for the reigning Olympia champion Samson Dauda, only second week into his official offseason, and the man is just shy of 320 pounds already. Now for anyone who believes that Samson Dauda doesn't need to get any bigger, well, think about this. His back shots, they are still kind of behind. So he in fact does need to get bigger and better, especially in that back double biceps. Because if Nick, he took that pose from Derek in Pittsburgh, he is obviously gonna beat a guy like Samson Dauda in that shot at the Olympia this year. But more than size, what Samson Dauda needs is to level up his conditioning, is to bring a whole new level of sharpness and the detail and the separation. Now he wins the Olympia hands down if he gets into that same kind of condition as Hadi or Derek, just because the man is simply way too big and way too muscular for all of these guys. So the legs are some of the best in the world. So he's a guy who weighs 300 pounds, actually more than that, and that too on the stage. And when he hits that crucifix pose, he looks like that golden era classic bodybuilder with that small waistline, thick wide lats, amazing X-frame. And that is something that Samson has done extremely well over the years. That even though he weighs above 300 pounds, but his waist is still very small. So there is nobody, especially in the recent past history, who was able to grow more than Samson Dauda from one show to the next one. And Samson not only put on quality of muscle, but while doing that, he kept all of his classic lines in check. Now would Samson be in a better condition had he skipped the Arnold Ohio this year? Well, I'm gonna say 100% yes. Don't get me wrong, as fans, we are nothing but very grateful to Samson Dauda for jumping into that show, and more respect to him for making that show way more interesting. But he probably would have been in a better condition had Derek did not beat him there. So Samson starts his Olympia prep in July. So this prep is gonna be roughly around 14 weeks. So let me know what you guys think. Can Samson Dauda successfully defend his Olympia title on his first try? Next up, we have a 10-week short physique update from John Jewett. So assuming he's doing Tampa Pro, which is happening in August, and as always, you can never complain about John being out of shape. No matter what time of the year it is, the man is always spot on, and that is a damn good X-frame right there, with about 10 more weeks to go. And the look that John is about to bring to the stage this time, that is gonna be more complete than the Olympia last year. Well, he kinda shocked us all with that impressive one-year transformation from the Legion Sports back in 2023 to the Olympia last year. I mean, even his lower legs, somehow even they grew so much. And John has been in that improvement phase since the Olympia last year. So his updates from this year's offseason, they looked really awesome. And now that he's in the prep mode, now that he's slowly getting in shape, getting shredded, his physique is gonna become more and more streamlined with every passing week. So John did not make into the top 10 at his men's open Olympia debut, but based on the prejudging, he was well on his way to place as high as 9th. But at the end he was 11th, which is still a very good placing for his Olympia debut. So John was about 11 pounds heavier from 2023 to 2024, and it was clearly visible on his physique. So it is a very high likelihood that he's gonna come back a few pounds heavier at Tampa Pro this year. And his proportions, they are already looking very impressive. So one thing that we are all very happy about in regards to John is that he did not stick to the 212 class. Irrespective of the placings, he will be able to make a lot of progress in the men's open class. So the Pittsburgh Pro and the New York Pro Classic Physique champion, Terrence Ruffin, he is on a tour right now, but he isn't missing a beat in terms of his meals and his training. So how much winning that Olympia title means to him? Well, he could have easily dieted for another 4 to 5 weeks and earned that big fat check of $60,000 at this year's Dubai Pro. But he knows that each week leading into this year's Miss Olympia, that is of the utmost importance. So there is another 6 pounds of room for Terrence Ruffin to play with before he maxes out his weight cap. And that right there is more room for growth than any other top Olympian out there. So Terrence was 12 pounds heavier at the Pittsburgh Pro this year compared to how he looked back in 2023. But I have got to say he looked a lot better at the New York Pro. He won that too, with perfect scores. And there is no denying the fact that Terrence has been one of the most classic looking guy in that entire classic physique division. He has the most number of classic physique pro wins. And now there is just one more thing left to complete his legacy as a classic physique competitor. And that is winning that Olympia title. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.